these boosters to go around? Will they be easily available at drugstores? Have we fixed the distribution problem?
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning of the administration, we really didn't have much of a distribution problem. That was fixed pretty quickly. We have a problem of people wanting to get vaccinated, Andrea, much more so than people who want to get vaccinated who don't have access to it. So what we need to do is we need to get people to appreciate the importance of not only getting vaccinated, but by keeping their boosters up to date, because the data that show the difference in severity of disease
I just realized something
between the unvaccinated and the unvaccinated and vaccinated with boost is dramatically different. So that's what we need to do. It's not a question of accessibility. It's a question of getting people to be vaccinated with vaccines that are available.
And that's the message that you have to get out, isn't it? That there is such a difference in...
It's not a question of supply. It's a question of demand. They have the supply. They don't have the demand. I was playing this clip just to rail against the absolute idiocy of this guy who does not deserve to have his voice amplified anymore. That's the only reason I'm going to rail against it in a second. But I just, listening to the first 45 seconds of this, just realized something. Fauci's basically saying, not basically, he's saying, the problem is not supply, it's demand. People don't, where did we just hear somebody say that? Earlier this week. We'll get there. Just put that together right now.
In the degree of illness, because so many people did get COVID because of this Omicron subvariant, this BA.5. And so they said, well, I'm fully vaccinated, I'm double boosted, how could I get it? You know, and then some people take Paxlovid and then get a bounce back, as the president did. So people began to feel, well, maybe these vaccines are not that important. But what you're pointing out is so important that...
Oh, absolutely.
Is she a scrutinizing media, or is she Fauci's personal assistant trying to squeeze out the right answer from Fauci? Who is she? What's her name? I don't know who she is. I know who she is by face. People are double vaxxed, double boosted, just got infected. Maybe that means something. Maybe in Canada, 92% of the adult 12 and up population, double boosted, double vaxxed, double boosted, double vaxxed, but they're still getting COVID. Oh no, but so I'm sorry, Fauci, don't you want to say something here to tell them why it's important just to hook it to my veins? Just hook it to my veins.
The hospital.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, if you look at the difference in hospitalization and death between unvaccinated and vaccinated, the curves, even for people, Andrea, who are not used to looking at these curves, are so obvious that the deaths and hospitalizations look like this for the unvaccinated and look like this for the vaccinated and boosted. So the data are overwhelmingly clear.
Anyone going to hey, you going to fact check that, Reuters? I'm not giving any medical or legal advice or election fortification advice, or as someone else told me now, or investment advice. This is not a sponsored stream today. The message will be the same, however. Someone going to fact check that? I don't think that's right, Fauci. I can tell you, coming out of Canada, I don't think that's right. Coming out of the UK, I don't think that's right. Who's going to fact check him? This woman here who just fed him the answer?
Dr. Fauci, let's talk about boosters to go around. Will they be easily available? These boosters to go around, will they be easily available at drugstores? Have we fixed the distribution problem?
Have we fixed the distribution problem? Talk about a question presupposing a conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, actually...
let me correct you, ma'am. You're wrong. That loaded question is fact. There's never been a supply problem, according to Fauci. It's a problem of demand. From
the beginning of the administration, we really didn't have much of a distribution problem. That was fixed pretty quickly. We have a problem of people wanting to get vaccinated.
What he means here is we don't have enough people who want to get vaccinated. We have a demand problem, not a supply problem. Where did we just hear that, people? Let me just go back through my diary of the world's descent into lunacy. Where did we just hear that? It seems to me, I recall hearing a certain CEO of Moderna saying that literally to a WEF panel somewhere. If my memory is correct, if my memory serves me correctly, hold on. We're gonna have to go through a lot here because this diary is filled with a lot of entries. Hold on. It was this week. Okay, so we had the Liz Cheney. We could see the ebbs and flows of news through my Twitter diary. Okay, bear with me, people. Bear with me. We're going to find it because it's almost shocking now that we're seeing our medical leaders implement a policy that some CEO of Moderna was literally just talking about to a panel at the WEF. Okay, now we're into WEF, so it's probably going to be around here. Here we go.
I'm in the process.
Who's this guy? Moderna CEO says they are throwing away 30 million COVID shots because no one anywhere in the world will take them. Yeah, no kidding. Okay, I'm not reading the rest.
It's sad to say. It's sad to say. I'm in the process of throwing 30 million doses into the garbage.
Non, putain, on va jeter 30 millions de doses de vaccin.
Because nobody wants them. We have a big demand problem. We right now have governments. We try to contact. Not only is Seth, who is doing great work with his team trying to get demand into the countries, but also we contacted through the Washingtons, the embassies in Washington, every country, and nobody wants to take them.
Isn't that funny? I don't know when this interview was given. I know when it was posted on the Twitterverse, August 14. I don't know when the actual session of the WEF thingy thing, as you can see in the background there, World Economic Forum, and this woman who looks so upset. So sad. Oh, the stupid plebs don't know what's good for them. We have a problem of demand, not a problem of supply. Yeah, no. That happened on Monday. And yesterday, now I see Fauci trying to resolve the problem of demand by pushing demand. Coincidence? I'm sure. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. I'm actually I'll say this out loud. I'm a little pleased with myself that I actually just put those two dots together as we were playing it. We have contacted Washington. We must get them to bring up demand. And then you get Fauci with that lapdog journalist telling everyone why they need to go get a fifth shot in some people's cases. Not just it went from being our body is a temple to our body is an experimentation vial for big pharma. Okay, stop knocking the table, Viva. Let me just get my legs straight here. Okay. With that said, people, how goes the battle for everyone out there? Cue the good responses. Let me go see if we are still in the green for the monetization. We are too wild and crazy. Okay, I just went through a bunch of accents there. How funny is that? Fauci doing the rounds to drum up demand right after the CEO of Moderna apparently says the problem is one of demand, not of supply. Can't throw out those vaccines, man. Got to get paid. Got to get another whatever the hell they spend their money on. Okay. Good. Here we go. Booyah. People, good to see you again on this wonderful. It's Friday. It's Viva Friday. Good to see you again. We got a great show today. It's still surreal that this chat, it's become a show. We actually have a show today, and we're going to talk about certain things. The fake fact checkers. Yale Medicine has now gone from Yale Medicine to Yale Track and Field with the rapidity through which they're seemingly backtracking. Yale Track, okay. Backtracking on stuff that people have now found out about and gotten shocked and outraged about. What's the best way to deal with people expressing their shock and outrage? Shut it down. Shut down the video, shut down the comment section, shut down discourse by calling it stochastic terrorism or stochastic terrorism. Shut it down. Can't have it. Can't have people talking. Can't have people expressing themselves. They want to convey a message. They just don't want to hear people's feedback. Legitimate, substantiated critique is now called stochastic terrorism. Disagreeing with someone is actual violence. Yeah. What else? FBI. Oh my goodness. An interesting Rasmussen poll is out. But before we do that, people, may I bring up the WEF has formed a new department to counter misinformation, hiring the 100,000 of the agents. Well, they will be going after the stochastic terrorism all over the YouTubes and the Twitters. So I had Roman Baber on earlier this week, and I spoke with him after the show. I wasn't going to get into a fight with him about our respective opinions on the influence of the WEF, because that's a matter of opinion based on fact that I think we can all agree on. There's certain facts out there that we can all agree on. They have penetrated the Trudeau cabinet. Almost half of the cabinet has been penetrated by the Klaus Schwab. Some people, Roman Baber does not think the WEF has the influence, the international influence that a lot of people think it has. I think Roman is underestimating the influence that it does have. The fact that the WHO, the UN, other globalist institutions also have more influence than they should over national policy does not detract from the fact that the WEF has significant influence on national policy, influence that they should not have ever. It's the WEF. Now they're going to go out. I don't know if that's true, by the way. I haven't heard that story, but have a wonderful weekend, Viva. Buzz and Jimmy, thank you very much. You too. Good morning and happy Friday. Cheers, everyone. Caligula. I haven't seen you in a while. Keep up the fight. Asior says. Super chats, people. YouTube takes 30% of super chats. If you don't like that, we are simultaneously streaming on Rumble. Rumble has the equivalent called Rumble Rants. They take 20%. So better for the platform, better for the creator, better for everybody. And it's a better platform. And one day it will be the dominant platform. So that's my prediction. And I will always be able to walk back that prediction by qualifying the sense in which I can, in the future, always manage to argue that it is a dominant platform in certain respects, even if it doesn't have 2 billion users on it. Oh, Fröhlich Freitag, meine Freund. Fröhlich means go play. Freitag. I actually had a relative whose last name was Freitag. Mein Freund, that means friend. So go play, my friend. French-German accent is somewhat popular in TV to depict rich, artistic, elite, high-culture degenerates. Yes, the French from the France, not the French from the Quebec. But I lived in France, 1999 to 2000, when I did a philosophy exchange program at La Sorbonne. The French from France loathe the French Quebec accent. The French from France view the French Quebecer accent the same way the Queen's British views Texas or Mississippi or Alabama accents. I think it's a totally pompous view of it, but it's the reality. And when I went to France, I don't think I have anything of a Quebecois accent in any event. Apparently I did. So that's just interesting stuff. Bearland, no one has voted for Klaus Schwab to rule over us. The Swiss government is holding a criminal. Ban all Swiss products from the market. But what about Toblerone? So delicious. Okay. I forgot one story, which is from another guy's YouTube channel about the ArriveCan app. Americans who allegedly deleted the app upon entry in Canada and then had a little run-in, a telephone run-in with some Canadian authority. I don't know what it is. We'll get to that story. Unverified. I have been told the individual's trustworthy. It's his friend and it happened. But reality, whether or not it happened to this individual, there's not a question that it happens, and we'll get into it. Okay. Which story do we want to start with? Let's start with that story while people trickle in to the stream that had been called on short notice. Check this out. So the what's the word I'm looking for? The story is Americans went to travel to Canada. For those of you who don't know, they will not let you through an airport if you do not download on your phone the ArriveCan app. ArriveCan, it's such a beautiful name. It's Arrive in Canada. What could possibly go wrong? It's an app that tracks your movement, that the government reaches you through. They contact you through this app or via this app, or you're supposed to go upload daily information via this app. When you download the app, you've got to upload your passport, your itinerary, your name, birthday, address, where you're staying in Canada, what your quarantine plan is in Canada if you need to quarantine, and what your quarantine plan is should you become infected, should they, everything. And it tracks you. Like it's not a question. It tracks you as if you needed the app for the government to track you. Now that we know that the government in Canada has been tracking cellular and mobile data of like 38 million devices in Canada, using the government to test propaganda techniques on Canadians, using spyware software to spy on Canadians, all confirmed by mainstream media. Go look it up yourself if you don't believe me, but maybe I'll just pull up the articles afterwards. So you got to upload this app, ArriveCan, and you've got to comply with it. And if you don't comply with it, you can get into trouble. So check this out. This is the story of this guy. Hold on, I'll get the video. Here we go. I'll get the video. Here we go. This is the video. I will share the link so people can go watch the entire video themselves. Here's the link, people. Now listen to this. I lost the link again. YouTube, is this it? That's not it. Cripe. What's my problem? When I do that, when I take it out, I can't get the window back up. So let me just go get the window again. Menacing call for deleting the ArriveCan. Okay, so here's the video. I'll just play 1 minute for context and then you can watch the whole thing.
But this is if you claim that you didn't know that it existed and didn't know that this was a thing.
Talking about being able to get through the border. If you don't upload the ArriveCan at the land borders, they let people through. Air border?
But
no.
For our American friends that are trying to come into Canada, which has been an ongoing thing, I had one American reach out to me.
Channel's called Clyde Do Something. Listen to this. So an American reached out to this guy
and send me some private messages. And here's where we got. Hey, just a quick message from American who watches your vids. I just didn't want to share publicly or would appreciate you keeping our info anonymous. And of course, I will do that. We live in Washington State and used to go to BC fairly frequently pre-COVID and haven't been up since. About 2 weeks ago, we went up and crossed that Blaine. And despite not wanting to, we were advised we would be denied entry if we didn't.
There was a story recently of a man, an elderly man, who was fined $5,000 because he didn't upload the ArriveCan app. I forget if it was him or his son. An old man who doesn't have a cell phone. And then the government was saying, well, your son has a cell phone. Download the ArriveCan app or add him to yours so we can track you when he's in Canada. He said, no, I'm not putting my father on my app. I don't have to. Piss off. And apparently was issued a $5,000 fine.
We used the ArriveCan app. We both deleted it as soon as we got into Vancouver.
That's bad.
And an hour later, I got a phone call from someone identifying themselves as a public health officer, asking.
I think the term that they use is screening officer, because I've gotten these calls, and I'm going to talk about that afterwards. They get in, they delete the app, and I presume the government can see that immediately because with that app, you've uploaded a picture of your passport, you've told them where you're going, where you're staying, how long you're there for. Remember, crossing a border is a privilege and not a right, and one has no more rights in a foreign country than that foreign country offers to people in that country. When you go to North Korea, don't complain about the fact that the government can't do this to me. And like I said, as the comment in this video, Canada has just become a more polite iteration of North Korea. Download the app, tell the government everything, comply with their idiotic obligations, and if you don't,
if we had deleted the app. I stated we had. They also demanded to know where we were staying for the night. I refused to provide them with the info, and we were advised unless we reinstalled the app immediately and identified not only our hotel, but the room number as well, we would be denied future entry into Canada at all border points indefinitely. Needless to say, I guess we won't be going back anytime soon.
So that's the story. Clyde Do Something is here in the chat. No way. Okay, cool. Hold on. Let's see if I can find the Clyde. Share. I'm gonna pin the comment. I'm gonna pin the link to the video in the comment. And Clyde, I'll tell you, I'm telling everybody here, I don't know if this story is true, but I know this happens. This is not obscene over the top nonsense. This is what the app is for. Crossing a border into a foreign country is a privilege. You have to do whatever the government says. And for anyone who hasn't read the Quarantine Act in Canada, it empowers the government to do this. The Quarantine Act basically requires anyone to abide by an order of a screening officer. There are certain limitations. One of which was brought up by Chris Sky, clarified by Chris Sky. Even under the Quarantine Act, you cannot be compelled to take a test which involves a foreign instrument entering your body. So when Chris Sky, the eccentric individual that he is and probably will continue to be, was telling people you do not have to submit to this thing up your nose that touches your brain, he was not wrong. That cannot be ordered under the Quarantine Act. But the Quarantine Act, in theory, I don't know that it's been tested constitutionally, can allow any quarantine officer, screening officer, to basically issue demands, make you stay somewhere if they have good reason to think you might be a vector. I'm oversimplifying the act right now, so it's a long act, and I've done a video on it. But and they can make you do whatever they want, and the fines can range up to $750,000. If they think you're a vector and they tell you to quarantine and you break quarantine, they can fine you up to $750,000. And there was a story about that. Somebody driving through Canada from, I forget where it was in the States, but to Alaska. They were ordered to go straight to Alaska and to stay in their hotel rooms en route. And then they were found to be at some tourist location the next day. And they, in theory, can face fines of $750,000. The idea that the government can say, you've deleted the app, and if you don't comply with this, you'll be blocked at the border. Dude, border agents have basically absolute power and minimal oversight, and you have minimal remedy. Now, I don't know what's going to happen, but this story, whether or not this particular story is true, it's perfectly plausible. And by way of illustration, it doesn't just apply to foreigners. It applies to Canadians. Get Clyde on. Hold on one second. Get Clyde on. Clyde, hold on. How do I get Clyde? Well, this will be fun. Let's see if I can get. Oh, we got bots back in the house. Block user. How can I get Clyde? Can you message me on? Can you message me on Twitter? And I'll see if I can bring you in. This doesn't just apply to foreigners. Canadians have to do this. And the calls don't just go through to foreigners. I got the calls when I came back to my own country. And they are intimidating. In this video, he goes on to explain that they're intimidating. Deliberately so. They're stern. They think they have all the power in the world. They are literal fascist agents of a fascist government, tracking your every movement. I get the call when I get into the country. I don't have to quarantine because I'm up to date for now. I don't have to quarantine. And they start asking me all this information. And I say to the woman, why are you asking me this? You know all of this already. You know my passport. You know my birth date. You know the dates that I had my shots. You know, why are you asking me this again if it's not just to intimidate me? And then they hung up on me. But my experience was even worse. Let me just see if Clyde do something replied. I can't see too good through my computer. Let's see if I can get. Okay, let me just. But I had a similar experience. Some of you will have already seen. Clyde, do. Hold on. Too many things going on right now. Oh, there's some Rumble rants as well. Okay. How do I go to, let me see. Clyde, do something, Twitter. Okay, now I've followed Clyde, do something, so you can message me. They don't just do this to foreigners. For everybody who's seen this video already, bear with me. This is what I got as a call from YouTube. From Justin Trudeau's agents.
Yeah, this is they. Who's this?
I am. Would you like to continue this call in English or French?
Let's go with English.
By the way, this is me enraged. This is what happens to my voice.
Monitor for training and quality purposes. I am a designated screening officer working under the Federal Quarantine Act. Today I'll be asking a few questions about Viva's quarantine to verify that she's in compliance with obligation, including a day 1 and a day 8 COVID test. This call should just take a few minutes.
Oh, okay.
Rage. That's my rage
Can you
voice.
confirm that she arrived in Canada on Tuesday?
I confirm that
They
yes,
know
we
this.
arrived in
They know
Canada
this already.
Tuesday.
I uploaded it into this.
Okay, and a record indicated that she is an unvaccinated traveler entering
None
Canada.
of your gosh darn business. This is the seething anger.
Traveler entering Canada who do not meet the Canadian
Let me just read my
definition of fully
thing.
vaccinated are required to be in quarantine for a minimum of 14 days. Is she under quarantine at
Oh, excuse me. In virtue of what is she supposed to be in quarantine for 14 days?
Yes,
No, in virtue of what?
because she's unvaccinated.
No, but
traveler
what
entering
that's not my understanding of the law.
It isn't my understanding
What do you
at that
mean,
time.
your understanding of
What
the law?
provision of law are you suggesting requires my daughter to be in 14 days of quarantine?
12-year-old girl.
She's under the Federal Quarantine Act.
Oh, that makes
what
no sense,
provision of
ma'am.
law is it? Because I know
Sir,
I know I've read the Quarantine Act. I've studied the Quarantine Act.
Okay.
What provision of law? Because she tested negative. We've had COVID within the last 180 days.
I understand that, so she's not required to be tested again. But since
Listen
she's
to
not
the
a fully
voice now
vaccinated
change.
traveler entering Canada, she's required to be in
Oh.
quarantine for
Under what provision of law?
Sir, the international, sir, the Quarantine Act. That's it.
No, but I'm telling you, I've read the Quarantine Act. There is nothing in it that.
I understand, sir. If you go on Canada.ca/COVID.
go to a website. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize the government makes law by website now.
Are required to be in quarantine for 14 days.
I'm not sure
at
that, I
least
don't believe
14
that's
days.
the law.
Yes, she is. She's required to be in quarantine.
Let me go back to the website.
So therefore, she's required to be in quarantine.
She's
not under 12, so she's required to be in quarantine, sir.
Okay, I don't know that that's the law. In fact, I'm a lawyer, and I'm fairly certain that's not the law.
Sir,
I'll go look. I'll go look and thank you. Okay, thank you for the call.
Go to a website.
Thank you for the call. I'll go look.
This is how the government rolls now, people. What law is it? If you go to a website, I'm sorry. You're telling me to lock up my 12-year-old girl for 14 days, negative test, just because she's unvaccinated, and you don't know what, there is no provisional law that you know of that orders this? Hell, is it? You can't go fast enough to there. I see Clyde in the background. I've never met Clyde before. This is one of those spontaneous impromptu things. Clyde, I'm going to bring you in.
Sure. Yeah. This is a bit impromptu. I'm actually at work, decking out outside and hanging out by the blackberry bush here behind the shop. But hey, yeah, this was a thing that a viewer reached out to me and brought that story to my attention. But it's not the first time that I've heard this. I've heard this in the comments a lot, and I've actually sorry about all the noise. There's construction on the road as well. But this was something that's happened to a few viewers of my channel because I've been covering the Arrive Can app situation and how horrible the rollout of that has been, and well, just how so many people just rather not comply with it, and everybody's just seeing, well, how far can we go with it? Of course, foreign nationals are having a really hard time with that because, well, they don't have much of a choice, as you indicated. You're subject to the rules that are around in the country that you're going to.
Clyde, it's nuts because they know where you live, they know everything, and if you don't comply with it, they can literally show up at your door and just give you any number of tickets. And so I consulted with a lawyer at one point in time. I said, like, okay, so what's the worst that can happen? The person said, I've known people who have been issued multiple fines in one visit because they didn't fill out the form on day 1, day 2, and then they racked up tens of thousands of dollars of fines, which they'll contest. Maybe they get dropped, maybe not. But it's like straight out of House of Cards. We don't give into the terror. We make the terror. And this app, it's terror. I mean, are they going to come down, bust down my door, and haul my 12-year-old girl off to a quarantine facility?
Yeah, exactly. And well, a lot of people, like defactors or people who are all for the app, they say, well, what's the problem? Just download the app. It's just like any other app. Everything else is tracking you or whatever the case may be. But the difference is you can opt out of using a Google phone. You can opt out of using Yahoo or any other service like that. You can't opt out of this. It's a mandatory thing. You're subject to it. The government says if you're going to enter the country, you have to use it. And some people are not complying with it. And yeah, there's penalties. They say that they are. We'll see where that. I'm not a lawyer and I don't give legal advice, but we'll see where that ends up with people.
The big issue is for nationals, for citizens. Okay, you get fines, you can contest them. To be denied the right or the privilege to cross a border is a much more serious thing. It's something that's very difficult to undo, and that's what foreigners have to bear in mind. Like, you cross the border and you break a rule, the agent can be a total prick on that given day and screw you for a very long period of time. So I don't know what's going to happen to it. I'd be curious to hear what the follow-up is. But
well, that's it. So I've been reaching back to this individual. I understand it completely. They want to be anonymous in this. And I asked, initially they said, hey, I just wanted to tell you this story. This is what happened to us. So I shared the story with their permission, redacting their names, obviously. And we'll see where they want to go from there with it, because apparently I was talking to Dave from Live from the Shed, and a lot of people are interested in this story and they want to talk about it.
Actually, Dave texted me the link, which is, I think you know that, because Dave from Live from the Shed texted me the link. I was like, holy crap, I had a similar experience. Clyde, what province are you in?
I'm in British Columbia.
Okay, nice. And for those who don't know you, I think a lot of people do know you. What's the nature of your channel, and what's your subject matter?
So I do commentary on news and politics. A majority of it Canadian stuff. A lot of it a lot of it branched off from the Freedom Convoy, because that's where I got my big start. I was one of the few channels actually covering what was going on at the time, when a lot of people were curious about what was happening there. Of course, you were as well, and several others. That was my big break, I guess you would call that. And I got into it because I'm a tradesman. I'm a mechanic by trade. This is what I do for a living. I like YouTube as a fun little hobby, but it turned into this new thing where I'm actually informing people of what's going on with the working class here in Canada, and what's been going on. A lot of people are just not happy with the progress of our country and where we've been going. So that's the nature of what I do on YouTube.
Fantastic. Your channel is Clyde Do Something, and your Twitter handle also is Clyde Do Something, right?
Yeah, without the G, because I didn't have enough characters. There's too many characters. But
Clyde,
here I am. Look at me. I'm doing something on Viva Frei's channel.
Well, it's an amazing world. I saw, I watched your video and I said, to Dave, how do you know it happened? I said, ultimately, it doesn't even matter if it happened in this particular case. If you trust them and you know that they're not lying to you, I don't need that to believe
the person said they have receipts, and we went over that. So that's and like I said, they're not the first people to make this statement to me. This was just one that got really in depth with their description of what happened to them. So it's become a regular thing.
They do call you up. They do ask for your address, because they do want to know where to come. If you don't answer your phone, they can come and pay you a spot visit. They need to know where you go, and they need to make sure that where you're staying doesn't have any at-risk people. When I filled out the app, and I'm living with my parents, they need to know. No, I wasn't living with. I don't remember. But they ask, "Are you living with vulnerable people?" As if to say, "Well, you can't go quarantine there. You're going to have to go to a government designated facility, also known as a federal detention center." So I have no difficulty believing anything there, because I know that it's happened to other people who've been issued massive amounts of fines for not responding or for violating the quarantine requirements. All right, nuts. Well, Clyde, it's nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. I'll talk to you afterwards, but very cool. So the link is in there. Go check out the video and check out Clyde for follow-ups because I'll be curious to see what happens. All right, man. Have a good day.
Cheers.
Well, that's a fun, spontaneous. I have made a new friend. I see someone say, Clyde is a good guy. Get rid of your damn cell phone and get the one that's... Dude, he's at work and he says, I don't have my computer. The phone is just that good. Thank you, Viva, Clyde, and Dave for keeping us informed with the information we can trust. Hey, when you have video evidence of it, it's tough to deny it. At least my own. That was me talking to that agent. Enraged. When I get enraged, my voice gets very weak. It's like I have trouble trying to control my heart rate, control my breathing. That's what's happening in Canada. All right. Cool. Clyde do something. That was fun. Let's do. I'm going to get enraged when I do the Reuters fact check. So let me start first with the Rasmussen poll, people. A Rasmussen poll. Here, look at this. Rasmussen reports. We all see this? Yes, we do. 76% of Republicans, 49% of independents, and even 37% of Democrats think POTUS is using the FBI as his personal Gestapo. And then we'll go read we'll see if we can decipher the methodology. People, full disclosure, I don't trust polls. I don't trust polls. Now I lost the page. Because they typically are very easy to manipulate. They're very easy to spin. And oftentimes, and more often than not, are total rubbish. Now, I'm not placing blind faith in this poll. I'm just saying I found it to be interesting, and I don't find it difficult to believe. Biden's Gestapo. Trump raid hurts voter trust in the FBI. I don't have difficulty believing this stat because I've seen it firsthand. We've seen the response by way of public opinion. People who have never hitherto called for disbanding the FBI, defunding the FBI, are now calling for that. The backlash such that people are now saying, holy crab apples, this is even worse than that other incident involving Kleinsmith and who was the FBI lawyer who falsified evidence to obtain a secret FISA warrant renewal in a secret FISA court to spy on Carter Page so they could spy on the Trump campaign. It's even crazier than that because a lot of people either never heard of that story because media is what it is, or just forgot about it. Last week's raid by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, aka Viva, FBI, on former President Trump's home has damaged the FBI's standing with Republican and independent voters. A new national telephone and online survey. So I'd like to know what the ratio was there, but whatever. Finds that 44% of likely U.S. voters say the FBI raid on Trump's Florida home made them trust the FBI less, compared to 29% who say it made them trust the Bureau more. Can I just ask, who in the name of God's green earth will trust the FBI more? Now, you might like the FBI more because they are, in fact, being used as a Gestapo-like tool. You may like them more, but to trust them more? Dude, anyone who trusts them more because of what they did to Trump is one wrong think away from them knocking down your door because they fabricated a reason to do so. 23% say the Trump raid did not make much difference in their trust of the FBI. Okay. Oh, to see the survey quick here. Let's see this. Interesting. That's what is this? Oh, look at this, people. People want to know why Rasmussen might be more trustworthy than some. They give you the information. Let's go through the questions. How many questions are there? Oh, it's not that many. Do you have a very favorable, somewhat unfavorable, or very unfavorable impression of the FBI? My answer to that would be very unfavorable. Is Christopher Wray a better or worse FBI director than most of those who held the job before him? Or is his performance about the same? I doubt anyone answering this question could name who the FBI directors were before Christopher Wray. Was James Comey one? Like, even I'm ignorant on that question. Okay, fine. Did Christopher, is he doing a worse or better job than others who held the job for him? I'm not sure I would have an opinion on that, because I say that I would want to say much worse, but then again, I don't know who the director was under J. Edgar Hoover. Did the FBI's recent raid on the Florida home of former President Donald Trump, you could take issue with the phrasing here. You might be able to say calling it a home, calling it Trump's home is misleading. It's a resort. It's something. Okay, fine. Some people can take issue with that in terms of the bias of the framing of the question. Does it make you trust the FBI more or trust the FBI less? Or did the Trump raid not make much of a difference? Well, I would say it did not make me trust the FBI less. So I probably would have said I don't trust it less now, and I might be part of the 63% who said I don't trust the FBI less, because I don't trust them. It's not possible to trust them less than the amount that I already distrusted them before. Interesting, actually, dilemma. There will be people who never trusted the FBI, so it will not make them trust them less. How would they answer that question, and how would their answer affect the overall stats? Do you agree or disagree with the statement? There's a, quote, group of politicized thugs at the top of the FBI who are using the FBI as Joe Biden's personal Gestapo. Can't get much clearer than that question, people. Gosh darn. Can't get much clearer than that question. Do you think that Joe Biden is using them as his personal Gestapo? And by the way, some people might have answered no to that question, not because they don't think they're being used like the Gestapo, but because Joe Biden might not be asking them to do it. So there would be a way to answer that question in the no, without it not meaning that you don't think the FBI is acting like the Gestapo. But we throw around the term Gestapo a lot. We throw around dictator. We throw around fascist. We throw around tyrant. We throw around Stasi, Yazis. But we don't always go and look at what the terms mean. Words are important, people. And let's just, for the sake of it, go see. What does Gestapo mean? Let's take it in the chat, people. Does everyone know the origin of the term? And how would people in the chat define Gestapo? Forget it. I'm not going to give you the time to look it up. I've lost my window. Here it is. Gestapo. Let's go see what Gestapo is. From Merriam-Webster, since 1828. And maybe they might be changing this definition. Maybe, we'll see. The meaning of Gestapo is a secret police organization. The origins are on it's an abbreviated way of saying the three words that it was. Gestene, Stasi, Polizia. Like it's something secret state police. It's a secret police organization employing underhanded and terrorist methods against persons suspected of disloyalty. And I have a screen grab just in case Merriam-Webster decides, to 86 this definition of Gestapo. So let that sink in as to what that means. Yeah, here we go. This is it. The Geheimpolizei, secret police. A substantial portion of the population of America now believes that the FBI is employing Gestapo-like tactics, acting like Joe Biden's Gestapo, which is using, I forgot the definition, terrorist methods to go after people they suspect of disloyalty. Some people feel the same way about the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Unconstitutional government agencies will be disbanded. A lot of other people out there going around saying, oh, those hypocrite conservatives, they didn't want to defund the police, but now they want to defund the FBI. The FBI has no constitutional justification for its existence. States have policing authority, constitutional policing authority. So it is not just not contradictory and not hypocritical to say, back the blue, defund the FBI. It's actually constitutionally justified and constitutionally justifiable. That and FBI doesn't really seem to be doing all that much to actually prevent stuff. What's up? No, it's right there. It's right there. Oh, the dog. Okay, take the dog. Kids coming in. I thought they were coming in to say, I love you, Daddy, but they want the dog. Okay, get out. And take your iPad. So there's not only nothing inconsistent about it, it's totally logical and it's totally justifiable. And anybody saying it's incoherent is only trying to justify their own hypocrisy, which is they're running around saying defund the police, but fund the FBI because the FBI is doing their Gestapo work right now and they love it. Thank you, the mockery. National Security Agency, NSA. Good, the NSA loves me. Have I looked into Mark Christopher yet? No, there's too many things to do. So that's the stat that's utterly hilarious. Who would have thunk that by acting like a Gestapo, people start to think of you like a Gestapo and you do decades of damage to your credibility to anyone who thought or still believed there was credibility to that institution, which by and large has remained true to its original raison d'etre as weaponized and initiated by J. Edgar Hoover. It was designed to spy on political adversaries. It was designed to employ those types of tactics on political adversaries. And if you don't believe me, don't. FBI J. Edgar Hoover history. I'll take a quick one. Here we go. Let's go to history.com. It's not the best source, people, but it'll do because it's all that we're going to look at right now. Where am I? Okay, hold on. I've lost many a screen here. StreamYard. That's good. Shrink this. Okay, that's good. Slide this over. That's good. And now let's go to history. J. Edgar Hoover was director of the FBI for 48 years, reshaping that organization from a small, relatively weak arm of the federal government's executive branch into a highly effective investigative agency. His aggressive methods, targeting organized groups and specific individuals, politicians, celebrities, and political activists, made him a powerful but controversial figure throughout most of his career, and particularly after his death, when the full extent of the FBI's intrusive and probably illegal surveillance activities became known. He spied on, who was it? Civil rights leaders. Let's just see if, here. Initially hailed as a success, the so-called Palmer raids were soon criticized by many for violating the civil liberties of thousands of Americans. Palmer eventually resigned to disgrace. Hold on, where are we going here? There was more. Hoover and the Kennedys. In the 1960s, Hoover's FBI investigated leaders of the civil rights movement, which he believed was intimately connected to communism. Hoover also compiled a considerable file on President John F. Kennedy. Using the FBI to spy on your political adversary included his extramarital affairs and alleged mafia connections, and he fought regularly with Robert Kennedy, JFK's brother and Attorney General, who attempted to exert greater control over the FBI's activities. At Hoover's request, Robert Kennedy did authorize unlimited electronic surveillance of Martin Luther King, and the FBI recorded, there's an ad that just blocked what I was looking at, much of the civil rights leader's work and personal life. Spying on political adversaries and ideological adversaries. It seems that the FBI today is doing much of what the FBI did under J. Edgar Hoover. And now they might have just gone one step too far, even for independents and even for 37% of Democrats, where I dare say the other 63% know exactly what the FBI does. They're just okay with it because Orange Man bad. Okay, now that's the end of that story. And that's all I have to say about that. Quite a funny, interesting poll. People can take it for what it's worth. Rumble Rant from Hatwit says, words are indeed important when the woke folk think they are changing the physical world by changing the language. Hegel, Marxism, postmodernism in action. Hatwit, okay, I got that one. Caligula says, my brother works for CBCA. That's Canadian Border thingy things. They spend all their time on ArriveCan. Generally, they let people go with one warning. and it flags you. They might not let you through the second time if you claim ignorance. And then we got Robert Walters says, here, get a gallon of gas on me. I don't get that. I hope that no violence, no jokes. I don't know what that means, but I don't want anyone misinterpreting it. And we'll get to some chats here. Curious, Viva, was the U.S. founding and Constitution part of your primary education, and to what zero? Just curious, Viva, was the U.S. founding and Constitution part of your primary education, and to what degree in Canada? No, nil, zero. And I often thought that the Canadian Constitution was very much the same as the U.S. Constitution. I had no appreciation for the wisdom, the beauty, the sanctity, and the respect that some Americans have for the Constitution, and the degree to which it differs from our lowly Charter of Rights that has been turned into Justin Trudeau's very own toilet paper. Good morning, Viva. At what point in recent events can we expect a second Team America movie? They can't make another movie like that. I mean, maybe they will. It was the South Park guys. They don't give a sweet bugger all. Team America, people. I haven't seen that with. Yeah, I can't watch that with the kids. That would be too much. Let's face it, guys. If you want to travel and see family and friends, we have to get the vax, even though we didn't. We had to get the vax, even if we didn't want it. Buzz and Jimmy, I'll tell you. I know people accuse me of having gotten the vax to travel. You may not like. People don't like the reason. I got it because I was running for office. I played with the daycare kids across the street where my kid was in daycare. I knew what people would do if that crazy eccentric YouTube guy, the anti-vaxxer, infects a daycare. I mean, I knew what would happen. And I said, as far as my own biology goes, I've had my kids. I'm taking risks one way or the other, and I made my calculated risk. It was not for the benefit of traveling. At the time, they didn't even have the requirement that you needed to be double vaxxed to come into the States. I don't know if that requirement still exists. What if you don't have a smartphone when you travel? Well, that old man, the old man who didn't have a smartphone, either he or his son got the big fat $5,000 ticket. What if you don't carry a cell phone? I don't. Test Brendan Lesko, whose avatar is Christian Bale from American Psycho. Super sticker, thank you. So, P. Henry, thank you very much. And was this chat? Just curious. Yeah, so about the constitutional question. I've learned everything that I've learned about the U.S. history of the Constitution in recent memory. And I had no idea how beautiful the Constitution was, how beautiful the Declaration of Independence, the history of America, how genius and the insight and the foresight of the founding fathers to craft that Constitution, to create a separation of the powers, to avoid a parliamentary regime that they just fought for their freedom from. Viva, you should get on their watch list. Everybody is doing it. It's the cool thing to do these days. I have no doubt they follow, the intelligence follows my social media. I have no doubt. I mean, this is not a flex. It's not a, what is it called? It's not a humble flex. Donald Trump Jr. follows me on Twitter, occasionally retweets me. I know that puts things on a map. I hear that it doesn't matter if Trump docs are classified. Thoughts, Legal Nate and experts on Fox News are saying it. I've heard that argument as well, because the issue is not possession of classified documents. The possession is basically theft of government documents, espionage, using government documents purportedly for espionage purposes. I've heard that argument as well. I'm not convinced, because I'm not convinced for a number of reasons. If the argument is that it wasn't the fact that they might have been classified that's the issue, but the fact that he stole government documents. We know that Obama has millions of pages of government documents. We know that as a matter of procedure, the president negotiates with whatever the agency is that governs NARA, the National Archives Registration Act. We know that they go through this procedure by which they determine what documents are classified, what documents are the president's personal documents, and what documents they have to return. So I've heard the argument. It seems a little bit oversimplified and almost, I want to say idiotic. It seems untenable to me. And so I have a lot of questions. So I'll ask Barnes Sunday night. The other thing that is, like, he didn't steal them, he relocated them. They knew that he took them. So they were notified. It's not like he stole them in any meaningful sense if they know that they have them. And the issue is then what originals does NARA have to procure in order to preserve national archives? So I've heard that interpretation. I've heard people say it. It just doesn't make sense. So at least I don't think it makes sense. I think I'm reasonably smart that if I say something about that doesn't make sense, there's got to be a little more to it than that. Okay. On that note, however, let's get into the buffoonery. Reuters fact check. It was, I don't think Stephen Bannon said it, but I think I learned of it from Stephen Bannon, or someone said Stephen Bannon says it. First time is an accident. Second time is a coincidence. Third time is enemy action. We're now dealing with purported fact checkers that are so dishonest and so disingenuous and so deceitful. It's not incompetence. It's not an accident. And I can only conclude that it's actual enemy action. What am I talking about? Viva, you're being hyperbolic. You're being crazy. You've changed, man, since you've gotten to the States. I have people saying that I've gotten angrier since I got to the States. Dude, I was accused of being angry in Canada for my Viva on the streets. That was what CTV W5 said. Look at this guy. He called the François Legault a fascist dictator, an idiot, a buffoon who doesn't know what he's doing. Dude, it might be that we came to the States because I got angry with the government in Canada. But if you think I'm being hyperbolic, if you think I'm exaggerating, if you think I'm being unfair to Reuters, listen to this shiat. It's not swearing, by the way, if you say it like Liam Gallagher. Shiat. I can say shiat. I can also say bia. No, I'll say shiat. Listen to this. Shit. Listen to this. Reuters fact check. This is Reuters fact check. Blue check mark fact check. So people want to criticize Rasmussen and say Rasmussen is not reliable. I went and I didn't show it, but I actually pulled up the bias review for Rasmussen. They say it leans right, but it's generally very reliable. Reliable to very reliable. Reuters, I can tell you, anybody that says that they are reliable is biased crap. And I'm saying that not because it's saying something that I don't like. I'm saying that it's biased crap because the only way to come to this fact check requires willful blindness if it's your first time, bad work if it's your second time, and enemy action if it's your third time. Reuters fact check. We're seeing this. A study of 301 teens in Thailand found mild and temporary heart rhythm changes after a second dose of the Pfizer COVID vaccine among 1 in 6 teenagers. Not 1/3 as the social media posts claim. Oh, first of all, that's shocking already, Reuters. That's shocking. My voice cracked. That's shocking on its face. And this is the fact check. Oh, the ones who said it was 1/3, they're liars. It's misinformation. It's only 1 in 6 temporary heart rhythm changes after a mild and temporary heart rhythm changes after a second dose. Set aside the fact that fact check coming from Reuters should shock the conscience of every man, woman, and child out there. That should shock the conscience. But wait, there's more. Not 1/3, as the Post claims. That's the fact check. Let's go see the actual story, shall we? Let's go see the actual fact check. One thing to understand that's important to understand here is where did the 1/3 come from? Because it is, I read through it. It is factually incorrect, as some people were stating. Let's go here. Breaking. So this is the claim that they're fact checking. Breaking. A new study has found cardiovascular adverse effects in around 1/3 of teens following Pfizer vaccination and heart inflammation in 1 in 43. Okay. The 1/3 cardiovascular adverse effects in 1/3 of the teens following the Pfizer vaccination. That is actually not true. Cardiovascular. Now you have to. What did I do here? Ugh, are we? What? No, now you're not. That's a different window. Sorry. That is not true. Why is that not true? And we'll get back to the rest of it later. Here we go. This is why it's not true. Remember, the claim is cardiovascular issues, 1/3. This is where I think the misunderstanding comes from. Overall, these are all adverse effects. 50 of the 301 students reported fever. After the second vaccine, 35 reported headache. Add those two numbers together, you get 85. That's roughly 1/3 of the 300 and change of the people tested. Those are not cardiovascular adverse effects, fever and headache. Those are adverse effects, technically. So that's where I think the misstatement comes from. Does that make this doctor a propagandist liar? I don't know if it's her first, second, or third time making such misrepresentations or inaccurate summaries, but that's where I think the misunderstanding comes from. The 1/3 was referring to adverse effects, not cardiovascular adverse effects. But wait. We'll read the article here. Let me just see what's going on in the chat. Anything good? Is it out of control? Oh, let's just see if we're still green. Refresh. Still green. Let's go read the fact check, because the fact check is going to shock you with its dishonesty, and it's also going to shock you on the facts that it confirms. A study of 301 teens in Thailand found mild and temporary heart rhythm changes after a second dose of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine among 1 in 6. That's the fact check confirming. That's fact check Reuters confirming. We're all able to identify qualifiers here. What it has found: heart rhythm changes. The mild and temporary are matters of opinion and unknowns. Temporary is unknown. It just means it went away for now. Mild is an opinion. It's an assessment. The fact that is confirmed right here: heart rhythm changes after a second dose in 1 in 6 teenagers of this one study. Oh, not 1 in 3rd is the. Oh, you got him, Reuters. The study also saw possible signs of heart inflammation in just. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm actually screaming. Just. Can we appreciate that qualifier? That's called a minimizing qualifier. In just, in only, in a minimal, in just a small amount. I believe Kieran Moore did something similar, minimizing the ravaging damage. In just 7 of those teens, 7 of 301. What does that turn into? That's 1 in 43. Just make sure about that so nobody calls me a liar. Just 301 divided by 7. 1 in 40. Just 1 in 43 boys with heart inflammation. But it's just 1 in 43. That's nothing to worry about. It's nothing to worry about until it's your kid. And confirmed myocarditis in 1 of the 7. So now we've got 1 in 300 with confirmed myocarditis. We've got 7, just 7 in 300 with heart inflammation. And we've got heart rhythm changes after the second dose in 1 in 6. And they're fact checking this. And they're telling you nothing to worry about is misinformation that you've seen online. Social media users are circulating the study of post-vaccination heart effects in Thai teenagers with the claim that 1/3 of the participants experienced heart effects. Yeah, that's wrong. That's wrong. And that's why you should make sure that you know what you're saying when you say it, so that you don't say something wrong that allows people to then divert, detract, and distract by focusing on what you said that was actually wrong, as opposed to the truth, nonetheless confirmed by this fact check, which is shocking, abhorrent, immoral, and some might say criminal. Some. I might be thinking it. And the suggestion that the results indicate a new danger level for children. New? Oh, here's an interesting qualifier. No, I don't care if it's new or old. Might be old. It's a danger level that people are saying. These posts are missing context. Oh, they're missing context. Give me the context. Just give me the context. Just please tell the people who want to contextualize this atrocity what they need to know in order to contextualize it. Not within context, but with their own psyche and sense of morality. Let's give me the context to rationalize this atrocity. Let me hear it. Social media, the post missing context. We found the risk of these symptoms to be not as low as reported elsewhere, but in all cases, symptoms were mild, with full recovery in 14 days. Oh, but I thought, by the way, hold on one second. Go back to the fact check. Oh no, that was another one. I thought no one was injured. I thought there were no injuries, and yet, in all cases, they recovered within 14 days. Oh yeah, I'm no doctor, but I've interviewed a number of them. Heart inflammation, it's not clear that it's something you can recover from within 14 days. A Twitter post shared more than 11,000 times contains a link to the preprint study. Okay, fine, yada. Breaking. A new study has found cardiovascular adverse effects in around 1/3. No, it was not cardiovascular adverse effects. It was just adverse effects. And the cardiovascular was 1 in 6. By the Reuters fact check itself. We can skip through this because we've already done it. Yada, 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 yada. Let's go see what Reuters is fact checking. Okay. They note in their draft study released as a preprint for peer review, they likely saw higher rates of heart rhythm disturbance and signs of inflammation than in other studies because they did tests to detect mild changes. Oh, I'm sorry. They might have noticed higher results because they did tests to measure the changes. Oh, but they meant to detect mild changes. Just pay attention to the qualifiers, people. Qualifiers are for liars. Ooh. Someone remind me about that. Qualifiers are for liars. Just mild changes. They might have noticed a lot of results because they did tests. Oh, but they were just detecting mild changes. With no symptoms, mild changes in participants with no symptoms who would not ordinarily have been screened. So what? Oh, I'm sorry. So they would not have ordinarily been screened to know that they had changes in their heart inflammation. So just write it off because they didn't know that they suffered the damage for whatever the reason. Maybe they thought it was gas. Maybe they thought it was acid reflux. The analysis included 301 aged 13 to 18 recruited from 2 Bangkok schools before receiving their second dose in November and December. The students were mostly male and none had abnormal symptoms after their first shot. Why did they put abnormal in quotes? Before receiving the second vaccine shot, each participant had a physical exam, a heart ultrasound called an EKG, echocardiogram, heart rhythm measurements, an echocardiogram, heart rhythm measurements by electrocardiogram, ECG, EKG, and blood tests that look for heart-related biomarkers, including troponin T and CK. This is a foreign language to me. Both markers of damage to heart muscle. They're looking for the markers, people. Don't worry. The only reason they found them is because they were testing for them. Otherwise, they would have never known. So the study should be disregarded. It's only found it because they were looking for it. They likely saw higher rates of rhythm and disturbances in other bodies because they did a test to detect for it. Yep, that's typically how science works. You buffoons at the Reuters. Before receiving the second vaccine shot, we got that. Okay. The exam and the tests were repeated on days 3 and 7 following the second vaccine shot. This sounds like a very good way of doing a test. It sounds very methodical and very scientific, if I dare use that word. And on day 14, for some of the teenagers, the participants also kept symptom diaries throughout the study period and were able to contact or visit the study team doctors at any time to ask questions. Overall, listen to this. Overall, 50 of 301 students reported fever, 35 reported headache. Those are not the biggies. Among cardiovascular effects detected only by ECG, you only detect these when you actually do the test. Some people don't even know that they've suffered heart damage. Some people won't know now, but they might find out later. Some people will never know because they'll never do the ECG. They did the test. 54%, 54 participants, 18%, 1 in 6. Not 1 in 3 is social media race. Go to hell with that, Reuters. Go to hell with that nonsense and that distraction. 1 in 6 tested with an ECG had rapid heart rate or abnormal heart rhythm. That's just nothing. It's just nothing. Someone said this might be common regardless in teenagers. I don't know. Just some of them, just 54 participants, roughly 18%. Not the 1 in 3, you conspiracy theorists. It's only 1 in 6. Of these, 39 reported symptoms such as palpitations or chest pain. That's totally normal for 13 to 18-year-olds. 15 reported no symptoms at all. That doesn't prove what you think it proves, Reuters. They reported no symptoms at all, but had abnormal ECG test results after the second dose of Pfizer. That doesn't prove what you think it proves, Reuters, unless you're evil. Just looking at the chat. Among the participants with abnormal ECG, which is 54, 1 in 6, 7, all males, also had elevated biomarkers of heart muscle injury or inflammation. I would argue inflammation is injury. So they had 7 of them had elevated biomarkers of heart muscle injury. 7 of 301. Of these 7, 4 had reported chest discomfort or pain, but 3 had no symptoms other than biomarkers indicating injury to their hearts. Can you imagine how awful and disingenuous and dishonest and evil you have to be to say they had no symptoms except for biomarkers indicating muscle injury or inflammation to their heart? Oh, they didn't feel anything. I mean, it's disgusting. Of these 7, 4 reported chest discomfort or pain, but 3 had no symptoms at all other than elevated biomarkers indicating and confirming heart muscle injury or inflammation. But they didn't feel anything. It didn't hurt them. Now, all 7 also had normal heart function and no sign of reduced pumping ability that can signal heart failure. Oh, is it possible, Reuters, that it takes more than 2 weeks for those types of problems to result from muscle injury to the heart? That as a 13 to 18-year-old otherwise healthy heart that's gone through injury, maybe reduced pumping ability doesn't happen within 14 days. Maybe. I'm just asking the questions. I don't know. I'm just a lawyer with a reasonably functional brain. One young man was admitted to the hospital intensive care unit only for observation, don't worry, people, of his arrhythmia over 4 days, treated with anti-inflammatory drugs, and his symptoms resolved within days with no detectable damage to his heart, except for that little pesky EKG thing you just mentioned over here. Liars. Oh, but I can't get angry, people. With no detectable damage to his heart, according to the report. Of that patient, the only one formally diagnosed with myocarditis, the other ones only had biomarkers indicating injury to the heart. The study authors write, one patient with myopericarditis in our study follow-up with at 5 months after vaccination showed complete recovery with no scar. Although the study authors note that their paper note in their paper that many of the survey participants had other underlying diseases, including asthma, allergies, blood and thyroid disorders, or migraine, the study does not analyze whether these conditions were associated with the differences in risk for side effects. Hey, maybe that's a question you want to ask of children before blanket mandating this. The authors also note that they were unable to do baseline testing for kids prior to the first vaccine shot, which is a limitation of the study. They didn't get comment. The 1 in 301 myocarditis rate in the Thai study would translate roughly to 332 per 100,000. How many per 1,000 is that? Because I thought it was 1 in 5,000. Oh, I'm sorry. So you're saying now it's 1 in 301? 332 per 100,000? What's the risk of COVID for these kids? Is it 332 per 100,000? No. In contrast, one retrospective study in Israel here found that the odds of myocarditis following vaccination were nearly twice as high after the second shot than after the first. The rates were also highest among young persons, 16 to 19. So I'm sorry. Did you deny this? Did you contradict this, or did you confirm it, Reuters? For anybody who's read this with a critical eye. Verdict: false. The study of teenagers in Thailand following the second COVID vaccination found that 18%, not 1/3, experienced any detectable cardiac defect, and that 1 in 301, not 1 in 43, had confirmed myocarditis. Oh my goodness, that is still shocking, egregious, over the top, and any politician who goes out there and mandates this and compels it on children is committing something of a crime, in my humble opinion. Hashtag no defamation. A large proportion of purported abnormalities detected by testing were without symptoms. Oh, okay. Whew. Thank goodness. Thank goodness they wouldn't have otherwise known, but we can detect it with testing. And 100% of the teens in the study fully recovered after 14 days, for now. Can you believe that, people? Oh, it's only 1 in 300. It's not 1 in 18. 1 in 300. I thought people were flipping out when Dr. Kieran Moore said it was 1 in 5,000. And then a German study came out and said, no, it's 1 in 5,000 per dose, or German authorities. I thought that was bad. 1 in 301. No, it's no biggie. It's temporary. See what that heart looks like in 50 years. That's the Reuters fact check, people. We're liars. Evil liars. There's no other way to describe it. They are giving people the fodder they need to be deceived, and it's disgusting. And it's not an accident. It's a pattern. It's a behavior. It's intended. In the fact check, did Reuters disclose its CEO is on the board of Pfizer? Let's get there. Good question. Friends Healthy 17-year-old. I'll leave it up here. I won't read it. I don't want anyone accusing me of spreading disinformation. People can't even share their own anecdotes of tragedy anymore because they're fearful of getting canceled, getting judged, getting called anti-vaxxers. Isn't one of the board members on? Let's go see, shall we? Do fact checkers disregard cancer patients if they don't feel their specific cancer cells? Kira Kristen, phenomenal point. It doesn't hurt them, so they don't have cancer. They only found out because they got tested, not because they were in pain. The jelly bean jar is shrinking. Okay, I got that. But let me see this, because people were saying that in response to the question. The CEO. Let me just go to. I'm going to go to the links on my tweet about it. So apparently, the CEO of there's a bit of an incestuous relationship between Reuters and Pfizer. Here we go. So I don't know this. I'm just going to go. I'm going to bring it up, and we're gonna learn in real time. Do our homework together, people. Here. Thanks, Reuters Fact. Very good. Very cool. Good to know you're acting with integrity and with no conflict of interest, after all. So who is this individual? James C. Smith. Things I've learned off Twitter today. James C. Smith, the CEO of Thompson Reuters, one of the biggest sources of content for the world's media, is on the board of directors of Pfizer. Okay. It's not that I don't. James C. Smith. Let's just Google. James Smith, business executive. Reuters. Okay. After serving as CEO of Thomson Reuters professional division, Thomson Reuters named him COO in 2011. In 2022, yada, yada, yada. Let's go here. Thomson Reuters COO and CEO. After the formation of Thomson Reuters in April 2008, Smith was named president and CEO of the combined company's professional division. Everyone can see this? Okay. which sells tax, legal, and accounting products. Thomson Reuters. Smith was made CEO of Thomson Reuters Corporation in late September as part of a move by the company to overhaul the structure of the group. On January 1, Smith became CEO of Thomson Reuters. Yada, yada. Smith was succeeded by. Okay. And now what about Pfizer? He's a board member of Pfizer. Oh, look at this. Involved with initiatives such as the International Business Council of the World Economic Forum, he is also on the board of Pfizer. I'm gonna steel man this. I want to see, what's his name? James C. Smith, Reuters fact check. What is the legal relationship between Reuters, Thomson Reuters, and Reuters fact check? I guarantee you, the sneaky any sneaky corporate bastard is going to say, Reuters fact check. Who owns Reuters fact check? Who owns Reuters fact check? Who owns? It might be a totally separate corporate entity. Okay, so Reuters fact check. Reuters is a global news agency that was founded. Okay, but now what is the connection between Reuters and Thomson Reuters? So Reuters versus Thomson Reuters, and let's see. Reuters was acquired by Thomson Reuters. Well, we got it. We done it, people. That's how you do homework, just to make sure you don't get embarrassed. Reuters was acquired by Thomson Reuters. James C. Smith was COO and whatever the other CO whatever of Reuters. He's now involved in initiatives with the WEF and Pfizer. They're fact-checking their own product. He is fact-checking his own product. There's nothing immoral, people, about fact-checking your own product under the guise of objectivity. Eat organic popcorn and in olive oil. I'm not sure if that's directed at me. So we've done it. The jelly bean jar is shrinking, as in it's no longer 1 in 100,000 people. And now writing, it's only 1 in 301. That's only 332 per 100,000. People were freaking out when it was 1 in 5,000 and doctors were coming to the defense. Canadian subsidized doctors were coming to the defense of the government, saying Kieran Moore was way off when he said it was 1 in 5,000. He was way off. German authorities confirmed it's 1 in 5,000 per dose. Just keep taking those doses, people. The jelly bean jar shrinks. Unbelievable. Okay, well, that's the Reuters fact check. I'm going to make sure that the social media individual who's clipping and snipping is going to make a highlight of that. Outrageous. Okay. Well, speaking of outrageous, you'd think they'd be proud of their work, but it seems that Yale is not proud of their work anymore. Oh, Thomson Reuters also owns Westlaw. Westlaw, I know it's a search engine for judgments. What are the chances that they'll start hiding cases what are the chances they'll start hiding cases needed to debunk the science? Can you imagine that? For anybody who doesn't know what Westlaw is like one of the premium legal search engines. It costs an arm and a leg. It's like hundreds of bucks an hour to use. You go in there, you get all reported decisions. You put in your little search terms. All right. You'd think Yale would be proud of their work. This is the video that some of you may or may not have seen. Oh, yeah, this is the video that some of you may not have seen. I saw it on Libs of TikTok, and I thought it was. Hold on, stop. I thought it was parody. It was on Libs of TikTok. They got a screen grab. I had to screen grab it with the Yale Medicine YouTube channel in there, so nobody could say I edited whatever. I saw the video on Libs of TikTok. I was like, oh, did Libs of TikTok or did anybody do any editing to that prior to putting it on blast on Twitter? I wasn't sure, so I went to the Yale website and I found it.
So I'm a clinical psychologist by training.
That's Yale Medicine right there.
I am the director of the Yale Gender Program, which is an interdisciplinary program working with gender expansive individuals, 3 to 25, and their families.
The baby music behind makes it extra horrific. Beep, boop, beep, boop, beep. Can you imagine playing sinister undertone music like from Fight Club behind there, and how much of a different tone this would all take?
We help individuals who are questioning their gender identity, who identify as transgender or non-binary. We help them with their gender journey, thinking through the risks and the benefits of medical intervention, starting medical intervention, and also building supports around them. And I love what I do. So it's really, really wonderful to be working in this field and to be working with individuals who are gender diverse and gaining their support and helping them on their gender journey.
I think I might have talked over the first part.
Which is an interdisciplinary program working with gender expansive individuals, 3 to 25. And
3 to 25. Everything that she just said is true of her patients as young as 3 years old. Gender expansive 3-year-olds. If talking about gender expansion with a 3-year-old is not the big G word, rhymes with brooming, I don't know what is. But this was on Yale Medicine's website for 2 years. It's been there for 2 years. They're very proud of it. They had 6 comments. I think it had slightly more yesterday.
Their family.
What did Yale do, people? What did they do? How proud are they in their work? Are we watching the same thing? Hold on a second. We are. How proud are they of their work? They should be very proud of it. They're helping people, aren't they? Anybody who doesn't understand that surely has to be wrong. What did they do? Where is it? What's my problem here? Oh, because I'm not in. Okay, sorry, I'm not in the incognito window. What did Yale do, people? When people who might think that that's not proper found out, they're very happy to make these videos and share them among their echo chamber. People who love liberating. You're liberating that 3-year-old by making them gender expansive. What did they do? They took it down, obviously. I went back today. I was like, hey, look at that. Oh, hold on. I should show you the homework. This was the video. What happens if I click on it now? What happens if I click on it now? This. Unavailable. You'd think they'd be proud of their work. They deleted it. Let me just go back here. Some might say it's because Tucker Carlson shed some light on this yesterday when he interviewed Billboard Chris, a man who's been speaking out about this. Yale Medicine had one of these videos. Boston Children's Hospital had one of these videos. People proudly talking about doing these things to children. But then when they get some blowback, comments disabled, videos removed. But I thought if you're helping people, you should be doing it proudly. Yale doesn't get Streisand, but it's because they're smart. Let me see what they do here. Salty does his live stream at 4:30 avocado time. I don't know what that means. Liberating to a lifetime of surgery, meds, and pains. No, it's and then but so they disappear it, and then they claim to be the victims because people might have been leaving nasty comments in the comments section. I'll say one thing out of respect for me, and if you do, don't go leave harassing, threatening messages. That is the response that they want. So they can then say, look what we had to do. We had to take it all down because people were threatening us, doxing us, harassing us. Don't do that. Don't do that because it lets them do this. And what does it let them do when they do this as a response? It lets them go around and potentially maybe, fabricate an email, fabricate a threat. So they can say, look, we're the victims here. All we want to do is help 3-year-olds become gender expansive. And these people are sending us threatening, harassing emails. And so we have to shut it all down. Don't do it because it's wrong, it's illegal, and it's counterproductive. Letting them know what you think, or it doesn't even have to be politely, legally, letting them know what you think lawfully, without harassments, threats, or doxing, that is the way. And when they go to try to hide what some people might call objectively criminal conduct, I mean, what more is it when you're talking gender expansion with a 3-year-old other than absolute child abuse? Because you have parents who might have gender dysphoria or who might have their own issues or their own preferences. And now you have gender dysphoria by proxy, transgenderism by proxy, because a parent says, my 3-year-old is gender expansive. Outrageous. And then they just go delete it overnight. Whereas if I hadn't screen grabbed it or libs of TikTok hadn't, you'd never know it existed. It's not dark times, people. We're living through dark times, which requires extra powerful sunlight. Okay, let me close this. Okay, some kids are back from school, it would sound like, and they're making some noise. I just hope they're not breaking anything. What is this? Oh, we'll get there in a second. That's not what I want to get to now. So Yale, stunning and brave, delete it, as though people are going to forget about it. Don't forget about it. Don't forget about it because it's atrocious. It's atrocious, which is derived from atrocity, because it's an atrocity. Okay. What else? Fact check. I'm just going to close down the windows that we've already got to. My goodness. Oh, hold on a second. I'm going to disagree with you, De 14 Jabs. We'll be shedding some light. You need to be watchful. The high wire. Oh, you need to watch the high wire. Dr. Malone and others on since the beginning. Okay, I'm going to read that. Let me see here. I'm getting a little distracted by the noise that I hear coming from upstairs, and all that I can picture is a floor being horribly scratched. Okay, my wife is home, and hopefully she's okay. Yeah, here's some. I think we had some more here. I was just looking for the ones from. Okay, so forget that. We don't need that. We don't need that. And we don't need that. I was looking for the one from the Boston Children's Hospital because they've got a bunch up as well. I wonder if they've taken those down. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. All right. And then the last one that we'll talk about. An amazing thread, people. Back to January 6th. Oh, by the way, just an update in the Gretchen Whitmer trial. Defense has rested its case. Closing arguments on Monday. Oh, what did I just do? Refresh? No. Oh, I opened up a new window. Closing arguments start Monday. My prediction, the only question I have is whether or not the jury knows about the acquittal of the other 2 defendants in the first trial. I'm going to predict an acquittal, outright acquittal, no hung jury this time, acquittal. I might be wrong, but who knows? I've been following it. The evidence that came out this trial was even more egregious than the evidence that came out the last trial, which resulted in 2 acquittals. And if the jury knows about the acquittals, and I think they cannot be unaware of the acquittals, they have to acquit. If the FBI did it, you must acquit. But this is a thread here. Ford Fisher, don't know who he is, so let's just see. Primary source documentarian, work in Oscar, Emmy, and Golden Globe winning films, editor-in-chief, NTS Reports, video available to license, IMDb. Okay. Thread, after a fresh, close look at my January 6th footage, I discovered something in the chaos I didn't know I captured. Sorry, I have to just do one thing here. I discovered something I didn't know I captured. Let's see this. It's very interesting. And I've in as much as I can verify that these are not doctored images, I've done that, but you unfortunately can never be 1,000% certain, even in as much as I want to be 1,000% certain all the time. On the Capitol East Side, Capitol Police Lieutenant Tariq Khalid Johnson is in my footage wearing a MAGA hat and shouting into a bullhorn. Okay. And this is how you can reasonably know the image was not photoshopped, because you can capture it in video. Do we see this, people? In the clip before he is seen with MAGA cap, USCP Lieutenant Johnson can be seen entering with officers tailed by several Oath Keepers. Footage by YouTuber Rico La Starza shows Johnson wearing a cap and asking for Oath Keepers' help moments earlier. Okay, we get the idea. We get the idea. Okay. Oh, well, we got to my punchline. Damn it. Okay, so we got the video. In my subsequent shot, Capitol Police Lieutenant Tariq Khalid Johnson can be seen wearing a MAGA hat, MAGA cap, and yelling into a bullhorn while leading several officers. Yada yada. Okay. Since the incident, Rico Lastarza's footage went viral and Lieutenant Johnson was suspended. I can't independently verify that other than Googling it. He has since claimed that he wore the MAGA hat to win the trust of the protesters. That might have been why he did it. Did he open the doors to win the trust as well? And help extract officers who were trapped? That's an interesting theory. I hadn't seen this angle before, but helmet camera footage by Stephen E. Horn, also shows the USCP lieutenant coming down the east steps wearing the MAGA hat after a parent extraction mission he recruited Oath Keepers for. Okay. And then I think that's it. Now, you do remember AOC coming out and saying the cops inside supported the Trump supporters. They let them in. Okay. One is a statement of opinion. The other is a statement of fact. We don't know if they supported them, but we know they let them in. She says it was an inside job because the cops were there to help them. Interesting. It would support, I mean, this is, AOC is going to love this. This is going to support her theory that this was an inside job, or that this was egged on by, pro-Trump Capitol Police. Other people might say this shows that there might have been some assistance, or at the very least, we won't call it entrapment, but there might have been some inducement. There might have been some inducement by the police to say, let's open the doors and let them in. And now you can't exactly go and arrest those people and call them domestic terrorists, as they did multiple times in House Resolution 501c3. That's not for profit. House Resolution, whatever the House Resolution is, people, of the Jan 6 committee. And I'm sitting here saying, imagine what happens if they release the other 13,999 hours and 57 minutes of footage. Imagine what happens then, when the aggregate knowledge of the internet can find not one, not two, not a half dozen of these incidents, but concrete evidence that this might have been, how do you want to qualify it, people? People use the word false flag, you get into trouble right away because it's conspiracy. This might have been a setup. This might have been orchestrated. This might have been allowed to happen so that it could be weaponized exactly the way it's being weaponized. Call everyone domestic terrorists, use it as the pretext to go after Trump. Maybe. It might provide some evidence to support that thesis, that theory. Release that 14,000 hours of footage and see what the internet can come up with. It took the FBI 4 months to come to the conclusion that Alec Baldwin pulled the trigger. I think we all knew that basically the day of, especially given what Alec Baldwin said. 4 months, they got it right. You release that 14,000 hours of footage, Liz Cheney, Benny Thompson, Adam Kinzinger, who else is on that committee? You released that 14,000 hours of footage. You guys have it. You haven't shown it, which is probably very damning in and of itself. Release it. I guarantee you the aggregate knowledge of the internet, which found a flag that Shia LaBeouf hung in the middle of nowhere based on tracking error patterns in the sky, they'll find out what happened on January 6th. My theory, much like not immediately unsealing the affidavit of probable cause in support of the warrant to raid a president's office by an FBI that majority of people now view as Gestapo for FBI, for Joe Biden. My theory is sunlight, which is the greatest disinfectant, would probably reveal a lot more than anybody wants to be revealed as relates to the incidents, the events of January 6th, which have been weaponized more than anything I've ever seen in my entire life. And that's all I have to say about that. There was one Rumble rant. It was a $1 from Fifi Brindacier. Fifi Brindacier, love you, Viva. Thanks for giving us a voice. My pleasure. And thank you for being here. They know what they did, but they don't want the public to. What the heck are those kids doing out there? So that's it. People, what a day. It's been a good day. Viva, of course, Viva, but years down the road after midterms and definitely after 2024 elections. Okay, what would be the, setting aside the obvious strategic problem, what would be the reason for not releasing that surveillance footage? People might see the inside of the Capitol building. What secrets? What would they need to protect for integrity, for witness protection from the 14,000 hours of surveillance footage? Bubkiss. I knew that Hallelujah has been a satire troll this entire time. I knew it. Gosh, dude, I knew it. Hallelujah. Everyone just remember now, this is like Pleb's Twitter feed. I knew it all along, unless you're being serious. So that's it. Okay, what else? Oh no, I got super chats in the chat here. Sorry, peeps. Watch Mark and some more, and you'll learn about FBI's involvement in the Oh no, dude, I'm not reading the rest of that. I don't want anyone thinking I'm putting bad juju out in the universe. Super sticker, thank you. Juan. Thompson Reuters also owns Westlaw. Okay, we got that. Oh, no. What are the chances? No, we did get that. Okay. Has anyone noticed substantial hair loss, most notably after showering? Not clumping, but thinning from hands, arms, and legs. So I'll tell you this, Robbie. I've heard stories of pool workers noticing more hair in filters. And people say, oh, that's a sign, yada, yada. That might also be a sign that people have been hanging around their homes a lot more, doing a lot more swimming. I'll tell you one thing. I have not noticed any hair loss, although I'm unjabbed of over a year now. And what I have noticed is a lot of hair growing out of my ears. And I don't know what the hell is up with that. Like, not in my ears, on the outside of the earlobe. I have to sit there with the tweezers and pull out hairs on my earlobe. And I'm thinking, that's disgusting. Old people are, I remember being a kid, and the old joke from Uncle Buck, you have much more hair in your nose than my brother does, when Macaulay Culkin says it to Uncle Buck. And now I'm thinking, I'm becoming an old person. First time donation. Why don't you run for prime minister? I know you ran last year, but you aimed too low, in my opinion. It may take a couple of tries, but I'm sure you can do more good just running. So Alejandro Alonso, the way it works in Canada, it's not like a presidential system. You can't run for president. You have to run with a party. And then you have to get elected. Although there's a way of, if you don't get elected and you're riding and someone else gets elected in another riding, you can sort of swap seats. I think the party has to get elected by a majority in order for the leader of that party to become the prime minister. So the only way to do it would be to pull a straight up 180, run with the Liberals, because I don't even think people would know that I despise Canadian liberal policy. But if I ran as a liberal, I think I'd win. If Winston ran as a liberal and they didn't have to show pictures and we had Winston Freiheit running for the Liberals, he'd get elected in my riding. I actually think that even if we showed his face as a dog, he would get elected in Westmount NDG riding. Yeah, thank you. I am convinced that even if it were a picture of a dog on the ballot, people would still vote for him. He would still get elected to the Liberals because they would think it's a joke, or they just wouldn't care because a dog is better than Viva Frei for the PPC. Wendy Lou, what's up? I love the fact that your eye color matches the color of the scarf or turtleneck or whatever that is. I love that. Have a great weekend as well. The Canadian Liberal Party is not only not liberal, it's illiberal and fascistic, period. They're so liberal, they tell you what to do with your body, when you can work, when you can go outside. They're so liberal. They've subscribed to the, was it Heidegger or I think it was Heidegger. In order to have freedom, you have to have rules. Oh yeah, they are the most liberal party on earth. If what it means to be liberal is to tell other people what to do with their own bodies, but at least they're pro-abortion, so they've got that going for them. Okay, go, be gone, people. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the rest of the day. Let me see what's on Rumble. We had a good one today. A lot of Salty Army in the house, in the Rumbles. Thank you all for everything. I hope, look, just you got to keep the political, public opinion pressure on, and you've got to be diligent. You see something ridiculous, if you don't screen grab it or record it fast enough, they'll memory hole it, and they'll call you the crazy person because you imagined it. I saw something. What is my recipe for Viva fried salmon? I believe I have a video about that on my second YouTube channel. Pepper, salt, paprika, granulated garlic, if you can do it. And you know what? My secret for everything? Dill. Dill on everything. Dill makes everything good. Omelet, spice, salad, everything. But let me see if I have the salmon. I know that I have a Viva family salmon recipe. Viva fry salmon. It's funny, I don't even get my old videos anymore when I search up because they've been drowned out with the law stuff. Viva family salmon. Because I got the grilled cheese. Breakfast. It's somewhere in there. But people, I'm gonna share this one because this one makes me happy. Here, this. The secret to the best poutine ever. Give that one a watch. Okay, go. Viva clips for all the highlights and the clips and the shorter segments from these live streams. Viva Frei for merch, if anyone is so inclined. VivaBarnesLaw.locals.com for a different community, some exclusive content out there. I've been doing exclusive lives this week on Locals, so extra stuff. A little more uncensored, but even Viva Uncensored is not all that bad. But get out there now. There's time left in the day. If you're in North America, exercise, fresh air, go talk to people in person. If I don't see you tomorrow, probably see you tomorrow, but definitely see you Sunday. And Monday, Alex Stein, Primetime 99, is coming on Monday afternoon. Spread the word. It was supposed to potentially happen today, but scheduling didn't work out. Alex Stein, the #1 troll in the world right now. Humorous. I want to know how he does what he does. Alex Stein, Primetime 99, Monday afternoon on Viva Frei. And other great, fantastic guests coming up. So go. I love it. Thank you. God bless you, Viva and subs. God bless you too, Crying Hippie. Get out there. Have a good rest of the day. Have a great weekend. And I will see you.